to today's report, the 24th of October 2024. Okay, the news events. Right, today I want to talk about the path towards de-dollarization. Can BRICS challenge the US dollar dominance? Now, why am I bringing up this subject at the current moment? Now, if you have been following up on the news, we have the BRICS meeting that's been ongoing. And one of the main topics brought up by Russia, which is the current host of the BRICS meeting, is de-dollarization. Now, this is a big thing because it would affect the US dollars, and you know how deeply entrenched the US dollar is right now. So if you were to destabilize it, what are the repercussions to the world economy and the foreign exchange? And today I want to discuss in this, is there a possibility of this happening? Okay, and how is it like? Now, in recent years, the BRICS bloc, now for those that are still new, it simply means Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These were the original members, and has intensified efforts to reduce its reliance on the US dollars, a strategy known as de-dollarization. With the addition of new members, including Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Egypt, and Iran, BRICS is positioning itself as a formidable counterbalance to the dollar dominance global finance system. How can de-dollarization happen? Now, the first thing is that what can happen is that they promote the trade in national currencies. National means the currencies of the members. Now, BRICS countries such as China and India are actively seeking bilateral trade agreements in their local currencies. Example, renminbi and the rupees for oil and other commodities. Now, this could reduce reliance on the dollar for trade. A BRICS cross-border payment initiative will further enable trade between members in their own currencies, bypassing SWIFT, the US-controlled interbank messaging system. Now, we have all been using SWIFT, and they can just use a different system altogether when you bypass that. So that's point number one. Number two, creation of digital assets and central bank digital currencies. Now, distributed ledgers technologies and CBDCs will allow BRICS members to settle trade directly, minimizing the need for dollar-based correspondent banks. This could reduce the role of the dollar in global trade imbalances and create decentralized alternative to current physical systems dominated by Western banks. And third, the alternative financial platforms can be used. Initiatives like BRICS Clear and BRICS Breach aims to provide decentralized securities clearing and payments platform. BRICS may also launch a green exchange and commodity pricing agency to settle trade in national currencies, further reducing the dominance of dollar in key sectors like oil, gas, and gold. Okay. Then we also have the shift from US Treasury bonds to other assets, and this will pose a bigger headache. Gold has become a preferred reserve asset among BRICS nations, signaling a strategic shift from the US dollar denominated treasury securities. The development of digital investment assets could attract international investors and gradually weaken the appeal of the dollars as the goal to global reserve currencies. So these are the steps of how actually de-dollarization can happen, which can be taken by the BRICS group. Now, next, I want to discuss about the key challenges to de-dollarization, because US is not going to go down easily. Okay, but let's not talk about this US. I want to talk about the current system. Okay, or how is the current system like, and what are the key challenges to de-dollarization? So the first thing first is, of course, entrenched dollar dominance, which I mentioned earlier. Now, the dollar is deeply embedded in the global financial system. It remains the preferred currency for trade, investments, and reserve because of the liquidity, debt, and stability of US financial markets. Alternatives like the renminbi or rupees face convertibility risk and high transaction costs. countries like Saudi Arabia are wary of using non-dollar currencies for large-scale transactions. Now, international economic weakness within BRICS is the second challenge. China's economic slowdown, Russia's sanctions, and India capital controls limit the ability of BRICS currencies to serve as attractive reserve assets. Political instability and weak infrastructure in countries like South Africa and Brazil add further barriers to achieving economic coordination across the bloc. Okay, you need a country which is stable. And I think one of the bigger things that you need to see is actually the lack of trust and transparency among the BRICS countries as of yet. Okay, because to replace the dollar as a reserve currency, BRICS members would need to provide the same financial transparency and stability that US markets offer. However, many BRICS members struggle with opaque economic policies and weak financial governance. A proposed BRICS common currency would require coordinated fiscal and monetary policies, something difficult given the geopolitical rivalries and economic disparities between the member states. And we also have the challenges with de-dollarization investments. While de-dollarization trade is achievable, shifting global investments away from the dollar will be much harder. US assets, particularly Treasury bonds, are still viewed as the most secure and liquid store of value. So this is not going to change overnight, just like that, just because you have BRICS and just because they are the powerhouse in economy as a group, that doesn't mean everything must go there, because we are talking about stability at the end of the day. So let's say they still want to go on with it. Okay, they still want to go on with the de-dollarization, and it's all about execution at the end of the day. So now the question falls upon this part is, can de-dollarization be executed flawlessly? Now, personally, I think it's highly unlikely that de-dollarization will be a smooth and flawless process. Several key factors make a seamless transaction difficult. First thing first is the fragmentation of financial systems. Instead of a single alternative currency replacing the dollar, we are most likely to see a fragmented global financial systems with multiple currencies such as the renminbi, rupees, gold, digital currencies coexisting alongside the US dollar. Now, such a system would bring high transaction costs and volatility as businesses and investors adjust to using multiple currencies. Oops. We will also have economic shock risks. Rapid de-dollarization could disrupt global trade and financial markets, especially for developing country economies with significant dollar-denominated debts. Managing this transaction would require coordinated efforts between BRICS and the broader international community. Okay, so definitely it's not going to be easy. And on top of that, you have probably the US giving a sanctions and political risk appearing in any of the countries who actually force for this. Now, so countries pursuing de-dollarization risk economic retaliation from the US, such as sanctions and restriction on dollar access. This makes the transaction politically sensitive, requiring a careful diplomacy to avoid escalating tensions. So it's not to say that this thing won't happen, but let's look into the time frame. How long would it take if and only if the US continue to abuse its position, abuse the US dollar, then there is a possibility. So let's look into the timeline. Okay, how long will de-dollarization take? Now, in the next 5 to 10 years, I call this a short term because it's really, really short, even though it's 10 years. BRICS nations can make progress in de-dollarization trades through bilateral agreements and CBDC initiatives. Gold and national currency reserve will increase, and the share of trade conducted outside the dollar will grow incrementally, right? So that can happen. Now, in the next 10 to 20 years, we can expect a gradual fragmentation of global reserves. BRICS currencies, particularly the renminbi, may gain more acceptance, but the dollar will still remain dominant. That's my personal view. A multipolar financial systems may emerge where multiple currencies coexist, but no single currency fully replaces the dollar. Now, above 20 years, 30 years, and so on, in the long run, full de-dollarization might become feasible if BRICS economies stabilize and coordinate their fiscal policies, gaining the trust of international markets. However, this requires significant economic reforms and a cohesive political framework, both of which are uncertain at this point. Okay, India and China, they still don't see eye to eye. Only recently during the BRICS that they have, in a way, said, okay, let's put this down, this border thing, then put this aside. Now, this is not going to happen within 10 years. It's going to take a long time. Now, even with these efforts, the US dollar is unlikely to disappear completely from global finance. It may evolve into one of the several key currencies in the decentralized global financial system, just like the pound. Okay, but I still think a dollar is around. Don't let all those fear mongers saying that the dollar is going to zero. It won't, because right now the US dollar is still coveted. Now we are talking about this timeline more than 20 years. And that more than 20 years, all this need to happen. All these BRIC currencies, BRIC nations, they need to coordinate their fiscal policies, gaining trust of international markets. They have to reform the economy. They have to have a cohesive political framework. Now, this word here alone, cohesive political framework, this is going to be one of the toughest things. So as such, there's still a long way to go for the US dollar to be replaced. Okay, so that's my report for today. Thank you.